Hi, hi Maya.
Hi.
So today we are in connection with a specialist from Germany, from Munich, Ms. Maya Gotz. She is, let me see here, she's Dr. Maya Gotz. She's head of the International Central Institute for Youth and Educational Television. In German, it's spelled in acronym EASY, IZI, at the Bayerische Rundfunk, Bavarian Broadcasting Corporation in Munich, Germany. And she's also the head of the Prix Jeunesse Foundation. Her main field of work is research in the area of children, youth, and television, and gender-specific reception research. She conducts empirical studies such as gender representation in children's TV and its meaning for girls, and empirical studies and boys, fear and nightmares from TV, or What's So Funny, and over 180 studies to foster quality in current TV programs. She published more than 240 articles and 14 books in the field of children, young people, and television. Okay, so I know that you have a PowerPoint presentation, and we can maybe start with that.
Yeah, the only problem we will have is that I have something interactive. So you are the only ones who can interact. Well, we see. So you will have to be a part of a study today. So
okay,
just to warn you.
Yes.
Okay, let me see if it works. Okay.
Look, I see that another student joined us, Gabby.
That's great. Hi, Gabby. So what I would like to talk about is just, a tiny little part of our work, and just following the question, are pictures meaningful? And first, I would like to just share a little bit what I'm doing. So what is the ITSI doing? We are there 55 years, and we are called the International Central Institute for Youth and Educational Television at the Bavarian Broadcast Corporation. We are actually an idea of the TV director at that time, that as public broadcasters, we cannot jump after every trend. We have to understand things deeper. We have to think in longer arcs and to understand the things really on a deeper meaning. This is why we have one of the world's largest libraries on children, youth, and educational television. So we are reading what is out there. We're doing a lot of basic research, like how do media go into the identity of children, adolescents. That's what we will focus on today, or fear and nightmare, as Sorin has already told you, or all kinds of things. For example, last year we've done something is how do media come into the families with very young children? When does the mobile come in the first time? For example, when they have to cut the hair, or so just to understand what media mean today and how we can help everyone to deal better with media, and of course how to produce better content. We are also doing trend research, which means everything that is highly successful with young audiences we have a closer look to. The basic idea is always that the human beings, my background is humanistic psychology, so it's human beings are meaningful. Their action is meaningful. So if they really like Bachelor, Bachelorette, or top model, next top model, pop idol, I just searching for the international names, then there must Pokemon Go. Then there must be a reason behind it. We are trying to understand, why do young people use this media, but also have a critical look to it. For example, in the last years, we worked a lot with influencers. So YouTubers, famous YouTubers, how our girls are stage themselves on Instagram. And at the moment we're looking at TikTok. And of course we work closely together with our colleagues who are making the program. So I'm involved in a lot of programs. One of my favorite projects was the last 4 years actually, where I was involved in a series about Holocaust and Second World War for 8 to 12-year-olds. So how can you explain, how you can tell stories which makes racism understandable and at the same time, of course, brings them to the right side, which is racism is something which we actually do not want in any case. And of course, we are publishing a lot. So what I'm telling today, you can find on our website, which is www.izi.de. And as I already has told you, I'm also in charge of the Parisienness International, which is normally a festival where over 500 TV executives come from over 65 countries, come to Munich for 6 days, watch together, discuss every program, learn about the newest research, and of course meet in very different ways. And at the end, choose the best of the best. And we had everything prepared this year for the theme. Every year there's a theme. This year it should have been the power of sound and music, but then came the pandemic and we had to change everything. And the theme was Separated by Crisis, Together in Commitment for Children. And we've done a great study and had more visitors than ever, but everything was virtual. So no karaoke, no soccer, and so on. And in between, we are making suitcases, workshops worldwide. So it depends. This year, it's not too many, but normally it's about 30 to 60 worldwide per year. Before we start, a very, very short introduction to mass communication. I'm sure you already know everything, but let me just summarize it again so that we can then start a little bit to the detail. If we are talking about children and media, we always think, okay, this is something where we easily can put all the content into the children's head. Yeah, it's also with the adults, but extremely with children, it must be possible. And as soon as you start to measure it, if they what stick really into their mind, what they really can remember, what changed their habits, then you find something like this. So at least 70% of everything you give to children over media is totally lost. The minimum. Most of it is just 1 or 2, sometimes 10%, and the rest is just forgotten. Which is, of course, is a great release for everyone who makes media. At the same time, it makes clear there are some things which stick and we have to have a look at them, but most of it is lost. The reason behind it is a theoretical one, because TV is not a stimulus response effect. It's not like if you eat some medicine and then your body just reacts. You probably have watched, like I have, Tom and Jerry when you were a child. Yeah. And have you done 200 murders a day? No. So it's not like you see something and you immediately do the same. There are some moments which are a little bit like a stimulus response, not really, but there is a kind of learning without noticing. And just to pick a few examples, the information you have seen first, you think is true. For example, if you see in media now, the war in Syria is over, you think, oh, the war in Syria is over, that's great. Or the pandemic is over, you think, oh, that's true. And you need 2.3 or 2.6 times to say that somebody says, no, that's a fake news, no, that's a fake news, no, that is, and then you start thinking, oh, maybe it's a fake news. So whatever you hear first or you watch first on television, you first think it's the truth. And of course, for children, a lot of things they see first on television. For example, how are other things? How are other people in other countries? What does it mean to be a beautiful woman or a beautiful man? What is right and what is wrong? So first they think this is true because it's told on television or it's told by media I trust. And of course they can learn that it's not true, but first they think that's the way how life is. And of course, if something is told again and again and again and again, then we believe that must be true. So there are some things where you learn without noticing, but most of it is more like this. The child, and actually it's the same with the adults too, we already know a lot. So here is knowledge hills. You already know a lot about the world. And you have certain things you are playing with in the moment, which theoretically are called the identity themes, something which are important for you at the moment. There's, for example, a funny effect. If you have split up with your long-lasting partner and you go through the park, you always see kissing couples or fighting couples. If you are pregnant, you go around the park and suddenly you see everywhere little children or a pregnant woman or babies. They are there all the time, but normally you don't see them. As soon as something is happening in your life, which is really important to you, which would change your whole life, then your whole perception really focuses on this. So these are the identity themes, the things which are important. And this actually are then the child really picks out of the medium. And sometimes they even can remember it 10, 20 years later and can tell, well, that was something which was really important for me. And there's also something like a parasocial interaction. So if you have a story, they go along with the hero or heroine and think, okay, how would I have done or handled this situation? And what is very important, when we are talking about children, adolescents, we are often very sure what is on the screen, what the picture is. And if you start asking children, you can discover very funny things. Sometimes they really see completely different things because everyone sees the reality a little bit different.
Okay.
Any questions so far? Well, oh, that's too early because I wanted to show our Confucius first. Because Confucius long, long ago told us something very important. Tell me and I will forget. Show me and I may remember. Involve me and I will understand. I want you to do something. So I have a little experiment for you and I have to put this off. Let me stop so that I can see you. Okay, we are just three of you. Do you have something to write? Yes. You need a pen and a paper. Gabi, you have everything? Okay. Here comes a little exercise I've done with more than 1,000 producers in more than 50 countries, and it always works. So, but it's always different. So I'm really curious what happens. Time to relax. We want to go back to your childhood. So sit, oh, I see Gabi is sitting really comfort. So sit in your chair, lay back, relax a little bit. Time to remember your childhood. When you were around 8 or 9, the easiest way is to try to close your eyes if you can. Try to remember the house you were living in. Walk through the rooms. Maybe you can remember the people you lived with, mom, dad, siblings. Maybe some animals, dog, cat. Go to your room. Was there something hanging on the walls? What was on the shelves? Books? What kind of? Leave your room and please go to the living room. Normally there was a television set. If you have watched television in any other room, go to that room. If you were not allowed to watch television, think about books or comics. Can you remember a series or a program which you really looked forward to? You really said, oh yeah, it's coming, I want to watch that. Can you remember a character you really liked? How does he or she look like? What did he or she do? Come slowly back and draw the favorite character of your childhood. And to anyone who's watching it afterwards, you have to draw two now.
And do we have to like draw pictures kind of things, or
Just draw it. Drawing is a nice way how you remember something, and draw it in a typical gesture. Something. So how does he or she look like? You know, just make some scribbles. No need to make it pretty. Okay, more or less. And if you're ready, then write down one sentence. What was typical for this character? So not just words, a full sentence. What was typical for that character? Okay. And normally, if we are in big groups, then it's nice that you just share your favorite character with your neighbor, and just three of you have to share it with a group. Now that you are just three, uh, okay, if you don't want to share, you don't have to. But if you want to share, it would be great to hear about your favorite TV character.
I'll let my students go first.
Yeah, I can go first. I know the pictures on my mind, but I'm not like a good artist to create a picture. But this is I cannot show that because of this.
Finish.
So I'm gonna explain how it looks like. So I remember the farmer that work every day in the land for make a money to survive his life every day. So he usually go to the land and then he has a two bull and then he just like digging land, you know. So it's like when it comes to grow up plants or like a food crops kind of things. So he just like go on his land and then digging with a bull. And then so it reminds me mine. I remember that like scene in my mind when I close the eyes and then, you know, so I'm also coming same kind of background. You know, it just remind me like when my house is there and then around this area there is a huge land and then people, you know, go to the land and then just like farming those kind of things. I mean, we don't have that kind of like luxury. Just go to the that you mentioned, go to the room and then watch televisions and then like some kind of cartoon kind of things. But it was the outside of environment, you know, like that's how I feel. That's how I think in my childhood.
Have you written down a sentence?
Yeah, he was farmer who worked every day in his farm or sometime for other people to make a money.
Works every day
Yeah,
on the farm.
and
Two.
also work sometime for other people to make a money.
And once more again, on his farm and
On his farm and or sometime work for other people
mm-hmm.
to make money. So if you want to also like imagine like how he looks like, it's just like he has a hat. Uh, well, I have this kind of a hat, like it's just like a Nepalese topi. I will show you. It might help some.
Okay.
Second. Here, I have a topi.
Yeah.
So this kind of topi,
Mm-hmm.
like this. So it is really new, but this guy that I imagine has really dirty and then ripped off a lot of place. So this kind of cap he wear, and then he was kind of like you know, like working in a clay mud. It's kind of dirty, you know, like he has all. So he has a two bull, and he just, you know, in the land, he, and it's just kind of like a digging land for, you know, planting. So this kind of, yeah, that's how I remember. That he looks like that. That way he looks like.
Great, thank you. Gabby, would you like to share?
Yes. So mine, I always I vividly remember when I was younger before school, we would eat breakfast in my parents' room and SpongeBob would always be on. So that's like the first thing I thought of. So I didn't have a pen and paper, but I used my phone. That's like,
Perfect.
yeah, I'm not the best artist. But yeah. And I more so than like remembering sentences, I just remember like SpongeBob's voice. And this like line, it's like 2 words. It just kept coming to my head when he's like, I'm ready, I'm ready, I'm ready. So when I was thinking of words, that was like the only thing that I could kind of think of that I remember him saying throughout a lot of episodes. So mine's not really all that deep, but
Oh, wait, it's deep.
yeah, that's what comes to my mind.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
Zoin, are you brave enough to share?
Yes, actually, I wanted to observe from the very beginning that I don't know if you needed a large crowd, but you really hit the nail in the head with this group of 3 because we are of different ages from 3 different countries and also both genders, you know. So, and also with different experiences, you know. You said when we were 8 or 9. But I still remember those images. And for me, the reality was in, you know, 76, 77, that I was in a communist Romania. And for us, the shows on TV were just like 2-3 hours a day. And once in the evening per day, you had like 10 minutes of cartoons. And at the end of the week, you had 1 hour on Saturday. Actually, at that time, I think we had only Sunday as a weekend, not Saturday, not 2 days. And on Sunday, you would have 1 hour of cartoons from which usually they would show, you know, things from Disney, things from the United States. And I've never seen SpongeBob, for example, until I came to the United States. But you know, I watched SpongeBob with my kids. So I'm updated. So I remember for some reason now, because there were several, you know, Romanian and other Eastern European cartoons that we were watching, but maybe Maya knows about this. Have you ever seen Lolek and Bolek?
Yeah,
It's a
sure.
Polish series. There were 2 brothers, a smaller and a taller one. And there were no words. That's what I wrote under the sketch that I made. You don't want to see it. 2 brothers playing and discovering things. Okay, and I said also in parentheses, no words, because there are cartoons in which there are words used and they talk and they debate and they discover things and they, you know, they are dubbed by grown-ups that usually speak in a child voice, which is a little bit dumb sometimes. You know, I'm playing with this and that. No, these guys were not saying anything. You would understand from their gestures, from their interactions, what they intended to do. And of course, it was funny. They were bopping each other over the head all the time, discovering things, making boo-boos, and then, you know, exclaiming all kinds of things and interjecting. But out of these experiences, they were discovering life together. And by the way, I had a sister. I have a sister, 1.5 years older than me. But maybe at the time I was attracted more of the idea of having a brother. So that's why maybe I remember now 2 boys in a cartoon, an older and a younger brother. Lolek and Bolek, and in Polish, I think it was pronounced Lolka I Bolka. Well, if you want to see my, you know, they were
Nice.
together, they were together all the time. You know, and because I've done the research with you, I put it also in the frame of the TV, right?
Ah, right. That's what we normally do. Yeah, right. So the sentence was 2 brothers.
2 brothers playing and discovering things. In parentheses, very important, no words.
Mm-hmm. Great. Let me share my... Again, because now comes, hopefully, just a moment. Now comes a little bit of psychological magic. Because to understand what you have written, it is important to know a little, or to talk a little bit about projection. Our projection, actually, we knew since centuries, and we mainly knew from the negative side. which means we know if something, for example, we have stolen something, we find everybody suspicious of stealing something. If you are in anger, you sometimes, or the typical thing in interaction is, don't shout at me, and the other one is not shouting at all, but you are so much in anger that you project on the other part. So you put something which is inside yourself, the negative part, and see it on the other. That is the negative part of projection, and it's well known in psychology in many ways. A new work by Robert A. Johnson are called in English Inner Gold, or in German it's the Gold in the Shadow, is talking about the positive side of projection. And in this book there's a beautiful sentence: we as human beings see our own strength first at somebody else. Which means we often, or we have done, oh wait, at least I want to show it. We have done many studies, so it's quite a big one, especially on these fields, and asking our children and understand how they use TV characters, or how they use the pictures and the text of the media to survive in their everyday life and to make their identity. And what you can find is this moment of positive projection. So when you have a look, oh, I should stop this and go back. When you have a look at your sentences, these are also sentences about the picture you had in your mind and on the character, but it is more a sentence which tells something about yourself. So it's, to a certain extent, the core values of yourself, of your identity. So let's start from the farmer. Working hard. He was a farmer who works every day on his farm, and sometimes for other people to make money. You were the first who were in this chat room. It's this moment of, it's a value of being there, working to make money, to go further, to digging the land, to bring something to flower, to bring something out. So this moment of working hard to make things possible is probably one of your core values of the things you already have known when you were 8 or 9, that it's good to do work. Which is, by the way, not very typical. I mean, this kind of dream is very unique, I can tell you. So you're probably a good worker. And you can dig some holes. You can make something flowering. Gabi, when you had SpongeBob is a very interesting character in itself, because he always wanted to do everything good and right, but it not always works. But he's always positive, and he's totally resilient. He can do it again and again and again and again and again, again and again and again, and he will just do it. So he's very engaged in what he's doing, and it's just funny. And I'm ready is probably something which is, something which you have already felt when you were 8 and 9. You couldn't live it at that time, but you saw this cute little character, which, by the way, is a kind of not clear which gender it is. SpongeBob, clearly it's a he, but it's, it could be everything. And just the way how he attached the world, how he was positive, whatever happened, he has to do some really stupid work and he loves it. So it's like, which is probably, we don't know each other, which is probably something which was in high value for you at that time, and maybe probably is now also. And Zorin, you already start your interpretation, and it's our two brothers playing and discover things. These moments of being in a partnership, not alone, you draw them hand in hand, so together, and it's a playful way, and just doing and discover, and always try out new things and see what could work. And also when you talked about it, It's about arguing, so finding out, but at the same time, it's no words. So it's not about, making the big works. It's really discover things and just find a way how we can discover life in a very playful way, which we don't know each other good, but we know each other a little bit, which I think fits very well. And I've done this in many countries and with many people, and we've done it a lot with children and adolescents. It's only a part of you. It's like, a little part, a little brick of yourself, a little brick of your identity, but it's a brick. It's a part of yourself. So whatever you remember, whatever you pick out of the TV and take with you is really meaningful. Not so much because it's this brick you take out, but it has to do something with yourself, because you can see yourself in somebody else. Because we as human beings see our own strength first in somebody else.
I have a questions.
Yeah.
It's really interesting that you mentioned all these things. I feel like it is reality kind of things. So I just wonder, is this the sense that we as a human being think it has any kind of impact environmentally? Like I found out, like Dr. Nastasia think a different way. I mean, we all human beings, think different way. But also Gabby has a different experience, and then I have a different experience. I mean, I think what I mentioned that is in my environment, I'm from Nepal, how their work, how they live there, how their environment is look like. And then that's how my brain work. And then I imagine this way. I found out, my brain worked this way. And then when I see the Gabby's thing, and then her brain also working different way, but the situation or environment she express is also different. And then same as like Dr. Nastasia did. Is there any, effect? Is there any dimension? Is there any things that environment can change our brain or thinking patterns?
Good question. I've done this with a few producers in Nepal too. So we have worked closely there. It comes up right before the big earthquake. So we visited all the beautiful places there. So it's and they brought up totally different ideas and TV characters, and some of them were even the very globalized characters. So it's to a certain, from a theoretical view, we are a part of a environment which offers us symbolic material. And of course, symbols can be, buildings, can be the people around us, can be, the farmer, but it can be media, it can be a poster on the wall, a book. Everything is symbolic material. And what is important for us to know as people who work in the media is that people are looking for the symbols which are meaningful for them. So for you, what I can read from this very short moment when we met is that you have a very deep connection to your culture, and a very positive moment of these. It's not rich, it's not luxury, but it's work, it's hard work, and it's good. So this is important for you. So it's always, no matter where we grew up, we as human beings have always glasses on. And these glasses are our identity. And of course, then it's a question, what does the culture offer us? And if you live in a war zone, your possibilities are, if you're in or live in a refugee camp, your possibilities are just limited. But we are now in a globalized world where in a lot of countries, there is the possibility, as long as you are middle class and higher educated, that we can talk together. So there is the possibility of connection, and you can find different symbols, but you will always also be a part of where you are coming from. So it's your head will always have some traces, some cultural traces of Nepal, but these might be different, like the other people, my friends from Nepal, I know who are working there at the TV. So it's like, to a certain extent, we are all very much alike in the structure, how we use media, how we use the material. But of course, each of us is very different, and we all have different values. And even that the four of us are probably very close together with other values, or closer than, let's say, racist, right-wing. So there, somewhere we said, okay, probably they have different values than us. But even then, if we have the same, each of us has quite different values.
If I can add something. Ekindra, you are coming like me from another country, but you will see, because I know that you are married, and when you will have kids in the future, you will see that they will not think like you, because they will go through other life experiences. They will live into another reality, and whatever you tell them of the past, they won't be able to relate.
Yeah.
So, and what you can find is, oops, stop. Yeah, that for example, children are like here, Leila, she's from Germany. Her parents are not, it's lower middle class. They don't have much money. She doesn't wear the clothes the children are in her class. She don't has brand clothes, for example. But she's very self-esteem, full of self-esteem. And her favorite characters is Vicky the Viking, is a little dwarf called Pumuckl, it's a German one. Willy from Maya the Bee, so it's the stupid side character, and Jerry from Tom and Jerry. See, she's bodily very small, so she's looking for characters who are clever, who are smart like her, because she's full of self-confidence like this character, and have her very own way of discovering the world. Or he is one from Johannesburg, where, for example, living in one shack, so in one room with 10 people, and mother is the only one who's working. But he and his friends are building a group called The Survivors. You can see them dancing there. And they're, for example, planting plants in the ghetto. And his hero is, for example, the cops of Josie Street and Zifo at that time, who was a favorite host. And one of the important things is that he is black. So a black man can do something. And important for Bogani is that he's not shy. He can talk to anybody. So that wherever he can go to a drug dealer and ask him, why are you doing this? And he's still friendly. So he's not aggressive. And this is something which is a value for Bogani, even that he's living in a very difficult situation and he's looking for symbolic material. And meanwhile, this study is a little bit long ago. And meanwhile, he really found a nice way. He even got to good college because he made his way through all these problematic situations and found his way. But it was important for him to have, for example, black characters. And if you, I'm very stereotypical now and make it very simple, but if you look at the core needs for a healthy self, so what are the things, if you break it down from a theoretical level, what are we looking for in symbolic material? We know there are some things which every child, which every human being need, like food, physical integrity, reliable caring person, and a reliable home. It can be a moving home, but it should be reliable. And we know not all children in my country, in your country, in whatever country have this. But if we imagine we have this, what is then the core needs for a healthy self? It's the need for acknowledgement, to be seen and loved. We all are human, as human beings. We are looking that somebody sees us and that somebody loves us and really likes us. For resonance, that we can make a change. So children often look for characters who can make a change, because as children often they can't make a change. We don't allow them to make any change, but they want to do something, they want to get something back. for autonomy. I can do it on my own. And if we imagine how often we don't let children do it on their own, but we close their jacket, we do this for them. Oh, let me do it, it's quicker. And they really want to try it on their own. To experience oneself as competent. We as human beings actually learn through the experience of competence. Actually, our whole school system is wrong because it always says wrong, wrong, wrong. And if something is wrong, we just learn how to avoid it, which can be I avoid not to learn, so I will learn more the next time, but it also can be I avoid to do physics. And maybe I'm really good in physics, but the teacher just proved me that I can't be competent in that. For respectful treatment, if two adults are meeting, even if we have completely different political views to the world, we will try to convince the other. So we think the other might have a reason why he or she is doing it. If we talk to children, we normally don't think they have a reason. They are just wrong. So we have to, take them with us, come with me, don't do this. Why are you doing this? We are not even asking this really with respect. And of course, children are looking for orientation and security. They want to know what is right and wrong. They want to know what to wear. They want to know how to do it, how to solve problems, and they don't want to be hurt. So, and what we found in this huge study where we have all the case studies in very different circumstances, if they have a lack in their everyday life, they go to the media and look for something which fills in this lack. So if the father, for example, can't show that the father loves the child, then they go to a story where the father is, for example, stupid, or the father, like in Vicky the Viking, always takes the boy with him. So they are trying to balance it in their fantasy, and they use the TV heroines to fulfill the love, to fulfill the wish to be loved, to be proficient, to decide on one's own what is right and wrong, to be allowed to have an own will, and to be seen. So very briefly, a little bit of how we use media for our identity work. And then comes the other side, because they are full of meaning. So we are using media for our identity work. And then now let's have a look at, okay, what are we offering children and what does that mean for our identity? And I would like to focus on gender because this is my, that's my special theme I'm working on. And just very generally, if we look at Germany, for example, we have, in our country, we have something like 50-50, not really, it's 51 to 49, but it's nearly half-half. If you look at the TV program, now it's the full TV program, it's about 2 male characters, main characters, to 1 woman. So clearly, it's not representing the reality of Germany. If it's over 50, it even is 3 male main character to 1 female main character. And for example, if you look at entertainment program, non-fictional entertainment, age over 50, you see there are many men, but very few older women who are, for example, just hosting a show, a late night show, for example. If you look, over the time, this not really have changed. In the 70s, it was a little bit over 30%. In 90s, the beginning of the 2000, and now it's always the same. So this is something which has not changed over the year. If you look at US films, you can see if in the lead role, it's even 2 to 8. And if you look at the speaking parts, it's something like 3 to 7. So we clearly see more men than women. And for example, the Gina Davis Institute analyzed if they are in a main role, how much are they seen and heard? And then you can see that if a woman is in the main role, she is not so often on the screen as a man who is in the main role. And we already have learned that it's 2 to 8. And she's not allowed to speak as much as the man character. This is why the study is called Women Aren't Seen or Heard. but they bring in much more money on the box office, because if we finally see a woman in the main character, think of hidden characters, hidden figures, this is a film where you really think, okay, now I have to go to the cinema and pay something because this is something I really want to see. If we look at German children's television, it's 1 to 3. If it's just the main characters, so we have a lot of male characters to very few female characters, and you already can see there are more stereotypes than just the numbers. We've done a worldwide study on children's television in 10 countries. It's the second time that we have done this. Here are the number of the programs. And what we find worldwide is that we have, if it comes to the lead and the main part characters, it's 1 female main character to 2 male characters and a few neutral characters. And actually it's everywhere the same. And it's nice. Interesting is, if you have a closer look, are what these characters are. If it's human beings, so if you have real children, for example, on the screen in animation, it's not that bad. But as soon as it comes to monsters, animals, objects, magical creatures, or robots, it gets worse. So the more it's constructed, the more it gets male. The prototype are the Smurfs. I guess you know the Smurfs, right? So the Smurfs you have are actually 102 characters. And so you have 100 characters who are male. And then you have 2 who are female, which is Smurfette. And there's a little girl who's called Susette. And this is something which we already have learned from Simone de Beauvoir nearly 100 years ago. Because how do these characters appear? How do the Smurfs found their way to life? There was a man who had the possibility to make out of a side character first a whole comic and later on a show. And in 2 days, he had the whole world. He had, ready. And of course, he did what human beings are doing. He took himself as normal. White man, middle class, no immigration background, no handicap. And that is how, he put all the things he had inside himself. He just thought, okay, what do I really like? I like to draw, I like to do poetry, I like to fight, I like to be the head of everything, I like to be this, I like to be that. And at a certain point, he came to a border, something he couldn't be, which is being sexy and give birth. And that was the moment when Smurfette was born. So this is the typical thing what Simone de Beauvoir called the other sex. So the ones who have the power to build, to create symbolic material of a culture, always, if they're not educated and don't reflect on it, take themselves as normal. And you can learn something more with the Smurfs, because every Smurf is named after how he or she is, right? So we have the lazy Smurf, who's lazy, and we have the grunchy Smurf, who's grunchy Smurf. We have the brainy Smurf, who's brainy Smurf, and we have Smurfette. So you are brainy or you are a woman. This is another aspect what Simone de Beauvoir exactly worked in the book The Other Sex. Being a woman is not half of the population, it's an attitude. Like, being lazy, being grunchy, being brainy, being a woman, which means you not only have 100 stereotypes to 2 stereotypes, you also have being a woman as a stereotype, which of course it isn't. And then I already told you the story of Peo. And it's not that he meant it in any negative way. He didn't want to be sexist. No, he just, he didn't thought about it. And this is how our world is built like, middle age or normally over white man over 50, middle class, upper middle class, without immigration background, without handicap. And this is how our world is built like. And if you then, we analyze now for 10 years, the international market, who writes children's television, then you see it's a lot of blue and a little bit of red. If you look at who produces children's television, you see a lot of blue and a little bit of red. And who directs children's TV, it's even worse. Then it's 9-1. So our children actually get the view of men about this world. And normally these men are white men over 50, or no, in TV it's they're not over 50. White men without immigration background, without handicap. And this, just to mention, means if you look at children's television worldwide, if you look at the ethnicity and skin color, you clearly can see most of them are Caucasian white, which of course means that everybody else can't find themselves in these characters. And I just want to get you one step deeper, where it gets really problematic, especially for the girls. It's the body of the character. So you have this representation. We already know identity. We look for we as human beings look for our identity and use the symbolic material and integrate it into our identity. And now comes the question, okay, what kind of body shape does this brick we took from the media have? Well, this is the body of a model. And most women over 30 know they never ever would have such a body. To have and to hold this kind of body means to have a lifelong diet, to go to the gym every day. It's like a third job, and actually nobody wants this, but this model took this job. So, and there are some, in the attractive research, there are some very typical ways how to measure a body. And this is the waist to hip ratio. And this model has the waist to hip ratio of 0.8. The 90, 60, 90, and we know nearly no woman has this body, would be 0.7. And then we started to measure cartoon characters. Cinderella, 0.6. That's the classical measurement of Barbie. And to reach the body of Barbie, you must be 2.15 meters or put out the last rib. Or Pocahontas, 0.56. Or look at a current character, Winx Club, 0.3. Well, you can say maybe that's the exception. And what we did is then took all the characters. This is from the German television. If you do it in the international market, it's even worse. This is there are some women who have a very tiny middle, but the maximum which is possible is 0.68. And over half of the characters are below this. So our girls are growing up with a body image which never ever you can reach. And you may say, well, this kind of hypersexuality you also have with the boys. Yes, there are some characters or some bodies which you never ever can reach. But here is the Arnie line. This is, what is Arnold Schwarzenegger has in his Mr. World time, the maximum from shoulders to hip. And here are the characters here in German television, but international it's the same. You can see most of the characters are reachable to a certain extent. So what we are offering, there is a hypersexuality with the male characters. The six-pack is nearly not reachable for most of the men. It needs a lot of training, and for some it's not possible at all. And there's another thing, just want to mention that we also measured upper body to lower body. Women have, the female characters have much longer legs. The men have longer upper bodies, which is a part of, yeah, I don't know the word now for a long time. Well, but if you have a closer look to the statistics, you clearly can see it's the female body which is the unnatural one. And I'm rushing up, sorry, because we are totally over time. I hope it's okay.
Yeah, there's no problem with me. It's
okay. I'm just let me just finish this one. I'm nearly through, because it really makes sense to have a look at the pictures we have grown up. It's more Zorin and I, but I'm sure you have seen them too. This is how Ariel would look like if she would have been extremely thin. This at least would be possible. She still would be really thin. Or look at Jasmine or Pocahontas. She still would be really thin. Or beautiful Elsa, a great character. This is how she would have looked like if she just would have been totally skinned, but we sell them like this. And of course, this has its consequences. In one study, we gave this to children 8 to 13-year-olds, me today, me 2 years ago, and me in 2 years. And we found a complete gender difference. This is, for example, Natasha. And you can see when she was 2 years ago, she was really more girlish. And in 2 years, her hair is blonde and she has a really sexy skirt. This is Aisha. You can see the same tendency. And they had possibilities to do all kind of stickers beyond around their characters. And she says, I like how I am today, but in 2 years, I like how I look. Or this is Naima, and this is how Naima really looks like. And you already can see she has this beautiful African hair, which is a little bit difficult to treat. And she already now idealized herself. She straightened her hair. Yeah? And in 2 years, she took another pencil, make it more lighter brown, and make it longer. So she imagined in 2 years she will look sexy like this and have this long hair. And we know from her mother, nobody will finance it to her. So her mother will not allow that she will look like this, and her whole body will not look like this. So we already have seen at that age, she will go into a crisis because the girls don't think they will look like their moms. They think they will look like the TV characters. And the women they have seen in the advertisement and in the symbolic material around them. And just to look at the boys. You can see they at least changed the blue one to the red one, but body at that age is not really their, hypersexuality is not their theme. So what we can see is pictures and stories are meaningful. And here it, for example, means that we integrate inner pictures of the human body, which we never, ever can reach. And if you are identified as a woman or identify yourself as a woman, you grew up with a picture of yourself, which you never, ever can reach. And you always define yourself as a deficit. And even more, of course, if your if your skin color is not white, if you are living with handicap, and so on. Because media and pictures are a part of our identity work. That's why, for example, just 3 little examples from the Prisioness, that's why it's so important to have diverse casts, diverse pictures, that we see our children and human beings in the diversity as they are.
Well, to me, this was very interesting. If we can ask maybe just one question at the end, I would like to be in tune with the tendency of this presentation to allow one more female voice. So I wanted to ask one of Gabby's questions. She asks, do you believe that it is more important to expose children to the media existent in this world, such as the various economic, political, and cultural happenings that are occurring? Or do you think it is more important to limit what children are seeing by lessening the access they have to technology?
I think first, it's very difficult to limit all the media access because media are a part of our life, and they will find a way how to get to all kind of stuff especially if they're over 10. I mean, until 8, you have a chance to limit it, and afterwards you are lost. So I would always say, well, let's make them media literate. Let foster their media literacy. Let them understand and expose them, or watch, of course, watch together with them all kind of media, so that they know what, for example, are documentaries, that they can understand what are news. And of course, you need children's news, which is one of the craziest thing. I could never understand why the US don't have good. Of course, I can understand why they don't have children's news, but it would be so important that children can understand what is going on, that they see different kind of genre, and of course that they see how the world looks in different places. What we have at the moment, especially in the US, is mainly cartoons, or a kind of sitcoms, which are a kind of US world. They're actually not, because they're all upper middle class, everything is there, big house, everything is funny. They meanwhile have diverse skin colors, but it's not really diverse. It's not real issues. It's just a lot of fun, a lot of fake, and it's just consumption. So what would be important is to have a look at the programs which are on a deeper level, which are coming, for example, now over Netflix and Amazon and Apple, are even to the US. So really have a look, how can we watch something together, and to give them a chance to talk to them about it. So it's not only consumption and binge watching, it's really, let us talk about it. Let us find a way how we can deal with the symbolic material which is out there.
Yeah, and I think, coming from another country to this country, it impacted me that most of the movies that you see, most of the news that you see in the United States are about America. And if you find out something about foreign countries, it's usually something lame, or something to accuse, or something to be punished, or something, those crazy people in that country. So yeah, it's too concentrated on the realities of, well, not even the realities of this country,
No,
because
yeah.
not many people discuss about, real life. They discuss about the life of the Kardashians and, rich people, and lives that are not real. Yeah, well, I want to thank you very much for your discussion and presentation for us. And I don't know if the students, did you like this presentation?
Oh yeah, it's really great. It was really great.
Mm-hmm. And I agree as well. I think it's really important that people are more aware of like gender discrepancies that are prevalent in society, because even like from a young age, we absorb all this information and we carry it with us throughout our life. So starting like from when we are young, it's important that we have like a lot of diversity. So we see people of all different shapes, sizes, colors. So we aren't trying to live up to this unrealistic expectation that's just like not even possible. So yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And I hope this was a chance for you to see how much it is really, how much it has to do with our own values, with our identity. And there's a big chance in it if you find a way to see the positive things and really offer pictures which are which makes this world a better place. But you also can, limit the possibility, put yourself in deficit, and just make you to go to the gym, pay a lot of money for this and that pill to change your body, to just feel bad, which of course at the end helps nobody but just the one who just earns money with you. So to use this possibility of media really to make this world a better place and to communicate things which are very valuable.
Well, thank you very, very much for your time, Maya. And I will save this recording. If you are interested, I can share the link with you to see it on YouTube. Next episode on YouTube.
I have a
yes
question with Maya. Well, you already mentioned that you know the people from Nepal I mean, journalist or something?
They have a children's channel there. They are doing children's news.
Okay.
They're part of the Vadada News network, Vadada News for Kids network. And we visit them, and we had a great time with them. We saw how they make, with very limited resources, great news, which would be something the US definitely would need. I mean, just explaining that young people explain for young people what is going on, how they can do things better, how they can get involved.
Yes, I understand that actually Akindra used to work as a journalist in Nepal.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Thank you so much for the discussion. It seems to me that maybe the image got frozen.
Yeah.
It's maybe the connection. Well, I hope she can still hear us, but again, thank you very much. I will save this recording and I will make this available for all of you. Thanks for your time. Bye.
Thank you, Dr. Nastasia.